just before we make a start, I made a boo-boo on my measurement. I put 6 1/4 inches here for the height of the cover, and it's actually 8. So before you cut anything out, change that to 8 1/4 inches. Okay, let's crack on. Hello there, welcome back. It's Carol here. Today is the first video of me making this journal in a weekend. Scary stuff, but we're going to see if we can give it a go, and I'm using my new digital kit called Spring into Summer. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the cover, and I'm using this box here. Now the measurements of my journal, yours might be slightly different, is that the cover is 5 1/2 inches wide, it'll be 6 1/4 inches high, and my spine, not that side but that side, will be 1 3/4 inches wide. Now I'm using this side because it's a complete side, whereas this side, the edge has been stuck down to make it up into the box. Alright, so I'm going to cut that down in a minute. So as I say, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down. So if I undo the box here, and I'm just with a pair of scissors going to cut off all the excess bits, all the flappy bits. So that's now all that excess bits cut off. I'm now going to cut it down to size. I know that this spine area here is exactly the right size that I want, so I don't have to do anything with that. So I just need to alter the height of it and the width of the front cover and what will be the back cover. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to straighten off. I've just folded over that top bit there, and I'm just going to straighten off this edge here, so that I can make sure that it's all nice and square. So then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the same on the bottom, just to make sure that it's all nice and square. So I'm going to cut this down to 8 1/4 inches in height. Remember, I wrote the measurement down wrong in the first instance, and it's 8 1/4 inches. And not 6 1/4 inches as I first stated, because I'm a bit of a numpty. There we go. So that is now the correct height, but I now need to do this bit here, and this needs to measure 5 1/2 inches wide. So I'm going to line this edge up here with the 5 1/2 inches at the top up there, and then I can cut that excess off. And I'm going to do the same on this back side as well. So from this fold line here, line that up with the 5 1/2 inches and cut the excess off. And that's my cover now, all cut and ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the paper that's going to go on the inside, and I want it just fractionally smaller, like 1/8 of an inch smaller on each of the outer edges here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around this. I'll use the straight edges that I've already got. I'm going to draw it to the exact size of the cover. And then cut it out. I could cut it out on my paper trimmer, but me being me, that's not happening. And I'm cutting it on the inside edge of the line. Now with this paper, there's no right or wrong way, so I don't have to consider that, but you may have to if you're using other papers. Okay, we'll just check that. And this should be the same size, but I want it fractionally smaller. So I'm going to take it to my paper trimmer now and I'm going to cut a thin slice off this edge and a thin slice off the top, and we'll double check it again just to see if it needs any more. So I've got a tiny border all the way around. I might trim just a little bit more off this top edge, but I'll do that off camera in a minute. But yeah, so you can see what sort of border I'm talking about, and then I can put that to one side. Then I'm going to cut the paper for the front cover. And I'm going to place it so that there is about 3/4 of an inch to an inch on each of these two sides here. I'm going to draw around it again. And again, I'm going to cut this out with my scissors. So I've got a straight edge here and here, so I don't need to worry about that. And then I'm going to cut this with the same kind of border width on it. So we can see that this is now bigger than the actual cover itself, and I'm going to chop off the corners. Now I'm not going to go right the way up to that particular corner. I'm going to do it slightly larger. It's like a smidge, if you can see that, a smidge larger than that corner, so then I can end up with nice corners. But there is a little trick. So if you keep these for the time being. Okay, so that's my cover now ready. The other thing that I'm going to do is I've got some duct tape, which is really strong tape, and that's because I'm wrapping around the spine in elastic, and I don't want it to dig into the card and break it. It's not far off the right size actually. Just trim that little excess off. And I'm just going to wrap it in the spine area from the back through to the front. And that now gives this edge a little bit of protection. And do the same with the bottom. Normal sellotape won't cut the mustard. It's not strong enough because this has got fibres woven into it, which makes it much stronger. Okay, and again, stick that down there, because by the time you've added all the decoration to the pages, it actually makes it quite heavy, and so it'll pull on that elastic. Okay, happy with that. Now I'm going to use my Tombow glue because it's quite a strong glue, because I've got to remember this is a little bit, it's a matte shiny finish, so it's a new glue as well, so it's going to come out really fast. And then make sure that I've done it around the four sides, and do the same on the other side. Now I want to pay particular attention to where that crease is, where the spine is, and make sure that I've got plenty of glue on there to hold it in place on the paper when it comes to me folding it. Now I can flip that over and position it where I want it to go. Now I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes to just let that glue go off, and very carefully press it from the front as well as from the back. I'm not going to press too heavily because all the glue will ooze out from the side. So I'm going to do that very carefully, and I'll be back in a second. I'm happy with how that's fitting, so I'm now going to turn these flaps over. And the first thing I'm going to do is just fold them over first and foremost, and just press them with the bone folder and then open them back up. Now here's a little tip. If you've cut it too close to the corner, when you fold this over and it doesn't make a nice mitered point, if I could speak, but it leaves a gap, if I can show you that. So if it leaves, I won't do it now because I've pressed it down, but if it leaves a gap, it's not a very good showing of the gap. But what you can do is these corners that you chopped off, you can glue those in place, and then when you fold it back over, it will just tie all that corner together, and you shouldn't really see too much of this extra piece of paper that you've added. So that's if your corners don't miter very well. So I'm going to do the two sides first. So I'm putting glue right next to the edge of that cover, so that when I fold it over, it will catch it down nicely. And then the glue that I've got right near the edge of the mitre, I'm just going to push it away from that edge, because when I fold it over, press it down, if I've got too much glue on, it will just squidge out and get all over your fingers. And then we'll spin it round and do this side. Now we do the same on the two long sides. And again, I would just leave this to dry before I went about adding the inside paper. Okay, time to add the inside bit. Now, what I'm going to do here again is to put glue on just the cardboard, not the wallpaper bit. And down that spine area. But again, I want to pay particular attention to where the spine is, so I'm going to make sure that there's plenty of glue where that spine area is. Put a little bit on the wallpaper there where the spine is. Then move that to the side, and then on this I'm going to put glue around the outer edge, which will sit on top of the wallpaper from the front. And I'm doing it a little way from the edge because I know that this glue, because it's coming out quite so fast, it will squidge across. Again, just go down roughly where that spine area is going to be. Okay, bring the cover back in. Again, if you're using directional paper, this is the time where you need to go, just double check. Just double check. Okay. And again, I'm just going to go off camera now, leave this to dry for just a little bit, and I'll keep pushing it very gently to make sure that it's well adhered. And then once the glue has gone off a little bit, I'll just go over that spine area in particular, both on the front and the back, to apply the pressure so that I can make sure that it's well stuck down, and especially around the edges and the corners. So I'll see you back here in a minute or two. Now it's at this point everyone gets tempted to fold it, you know, to be able to create the spine. I want you to leave it alone till that glue completely dries out. Even put it underneath some heavy books if you want to, but put that to one side and just let the glue dry, let it dry flat. That's the end of the first video. In the next video, I'm going to show you how I actually decorated the front cover that I've just shown you how to make. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for joining me in this one. See you soon. Bye.